Kieran, that's a question that we get asked regularly. Supporters will probably remember that we asked the UEA to complete a piece of work into whether stadium expansion was viable here. They concluded that it was, that we could take the capacity at Carrow Road up to circa 35,000. We'd love to do that, and we'd love to do that in the not too distant future. However, 7,000 or 8,000 extra seats could cost us up to £30 million. And £30 million at the moment would then have to come from the squad cost and the squad budget. And the board decided that it's so important to try and ensure that we do everything we can to keep Norwich City in the Premier League that we didn't want to raid the football budget for stadium infrastructure costs. And that's something short term that we conclude is best for the football club. It's meant that we've been able to invest this summer in the transfer market, where we've beaten our transfer record at least twice. You could argue 3 times, but at least twice. We spent more money than we've ever spent in player recruitment. We would not have been able to do that if we'd have said priority is to expand Carrow Road. So at the moment we recognise that there's a need, a requirement to expand Carrow Road, but it's probably number 2 on the priorities behind the squad investment. And so I'd say we'll get at it at a time when we can afford it, but I can't see that happening in the next 2 or 3 years. Thanks for the question, John. Interesting question, no truth in it whatsoever. Carrow Road is our home. We've already identified with the piece of work that the UEA did for us that we have the demand to expand Carrow Road to 35,000. Would we need more than that? Maybe in a generation's time, but certainly not in the midterm. And so Carrow Road is ideal. It's our home. It's a fantastic traditional football ground. Very close to the road network, very close to the rail network, 5 or 10 minute walk into the city, so it's perfectly located. We have no intentions of locating to either the one that's been suggested or any brownfield site. Then Carrow Road needs to be where we play our football. Thanks for the question, Jake. Good question, and we do get asked regularly. When we do tackle the stadium expansion opportunity at Carrow Road, that will be the time to look at things like large screens. At the moment, there is nowhere for a large screen that wouldn't obscure the view of many supporters, so there's no point providing one solution if it creates another problem for you. We'd like to have large screens. We'd like to have a couple of large screens at either end of the ground, but at the moment, the stadium configuration doesn't allow for that to be done practically. Hi Nick, good question. Yeah, there is money available in January. We have some budget preserved from the summer spending efforts for January. We'll sit down with Chris to see where, if necessary, we need to reinforce the squad. It's always sensible to have some money available for January because things happen, such as injuries, and Elliot Bennett, for instance, he'll be back, I'm sure, early in the new year, but his injury is a blow that we didn't anticipate. We did try and bring in loan cover to support that, but who knows, between now and Christmas there are many football matches, and so our requirements for January may change, may evolve based on injuries, based on form, or based on the evolution of the squad, because the squad has changed dramatically over such a short period. I think Russ and Wes are the only two now that remain from that League One Championship winning squad. It just shows how quickly things change. looking back over the summer, it's a very interesting summer. We were able to land nearly all of our targets. The only one area where we would have liked to have strengthened, we would have liked to bring in an extra defender. But we think with the versatility that a number of our defenders have, then we're well covered. But it's no secret that we did try and bring in an extra defender. Difficult to say which was the best. I was just delighted that we were able to sign 8. We said at the start of the window that we would sign between 5 and 8. Javier, of course, you can exclude from that analysis because we knew that he was ours for the new season. So we signed 7. And I think they're all top-class signings in their own right. Very excited about a number of them. And I'm very excited that this time, for the right reasons, we've looked at the offensive positions as opposed to this time last year where it was clear that we needed to strengthen in the back 5. We've looked at the forward positions this time in earnest, and most of the players are in either midfield or attacking positions, and that reflects, I guess, where we felt we needed to strengthen the squad. Who knows who's going to be the best? Who do you think the best signing is? Well, unfortunately, that's something that you reflect on when they've departed and done their 3 years, 4 years, or 10 years, or whatever it is. Good question, Ben. Luciano, top striker. He's one of 4 out-and-out strikers that we have, with Ricky, with Gary Hooper, and with Johan Elmander. Those 3 we signed this summer. Luciano only signed in January, so if you like, at the business end of the pitch, there's been an overhaul, complete overhaul of our striking options, with Grant leaving, Steve Morrison, Chris Martin, Simeon Jackson, a number of strikers who, quite rightly, have done very well for us in the past, but it was probably right for them to move on just now. We've overhauled the striking options. I think Luciano, in my opinion, has probably been a little bit unlucky. Joined us, settled in. Grant then found some form and was keeping Luciano out of the side towards the end of the season. So he was a little bit unlucky, and clearly this summer we've spent heavily in reinforcements with 3, Johan Elmander, current international striker, on Galatasaray wages. Ricky van Volswinkel, record signing for the football club, current Dutch international. And Gary Hooper, I think Neil Lennon described him as the best Celtic striker since Henrik Larsson. So he's up against some truly talented competitors, but I'm sure he'll get his chance. Top-class professional, he'll get his moment. And when we signed Luciano, I think he'd signed 19 or 20 goals in the Championship before Christmas. That just shows the quality of the man, and we need 4 strikers. It's a great question. We are delighted that we're the current holders of the FA Youth Cup. So some of the progress that this club's made through Ricky Martin, Neil Adams and others should be recognised. And generally, the players in our squad are homegrown. So they're not only produced by our academy, but they're domestic players too. And not every academy in the Premier League can say that. I do think there's a challenge though between doing well at academy level and under 18 level, and then progressing through to the Premier League. Clearly the club has come some way in a few years from League One, where it may have been easier to go from academy to League One. It's certainly more of a challenge to go from academy to the Premier League, which is the toughest, most successful league in the world. So there's a real challenge there. The Elite Player Performance Plan is designed to try and do something about that. We need more coaches, we need better coaches, we need more time with the players, and I'm delighted to say we've got 26 boys now who are full-time with us. We are committing to their education, so we've used two schools locally where we're committing to their full-time education, but it means that we have far more access to them at good times during the day to help them with their football education too. And so I think we'll see the progress that the Elite Player Performance Plan will deliver over the course of the next 2 or 3 years. But our roster of young players is very exciting, with the Murphys, with Carlton Morris, with Harry Toffolo, with Kyle, with Cameron, with all of these good young players that are coming through. They did so well to win the FA Youth Cup, and that we've got high hopes that some of those players will develop into Norwich City Premier League players. And of course, additionally, we are so lucky at Norwich City that we've got the most supportive fans in the country. They've backed us to the hilt with our academy development. The academy donation was truly remarkable, and we guarantee every penny will go towards developing the stars of the future. The Academy Jackpot, which is one of the more successful academy lottery products in the country now, and time in, time out, they back us to the hilt. All of the lottery products that we have, all of the money that we raise from those products go directly to supporting the academy. And whilst we are committing many millions as a club to the development of young players, the more money we get from the supporters will clearly aid that and add to that. And so we can't say a bigger thanks to the supporters than thank you, thank you, thank you, and keep the money coming. Please. Yeah, Nathan, we get asked this question a lot. It's very topical. It's interesting. I've personal hat on, I struggle with it because my friend died at Hillsborough. So I will always struggle with the subject. However, if the law changed, then of course we need to be mindful of what we're allowed to do as a football club. And in the end, football clubs have to ensure that they are listening to what their supporters want. And so it's something that will develop. I'm not sure where we would put the safe standing area, and whether we'd be able to do it cost effectively would be a real challenge for us. And so if it costs us more money, then we will have less money to spend on the first team. So all of those things we'd need to ponder, consider, and give real thought to. So company hat on, we'll consider it. Personal hat on, I'll always be against. Outside of the ground, we obviously have car parking space, and we've got the Football in the Community, or the Community Sports Foundation, I should say, Barclays Spaces for Sport. We don't have a lot of other space. We are looking at trying to create more things to do, more of an atmosphere in the build-up to games. But it's only in the build-up to games, and also we need to be mindful of managing the pedestrian traffic that we've got, which is huge in the build-up to kick-off. So we wouldn't ever do anything that would put that at risk. So we are going to have a little look at it. Huge development plans down at Colney too, where this year we've put in a state-of-the-art, best-in-class pitch, which is an exact replica of the Carrow Road pitch, which will allow our players to train on the same pitch that they play on, as well as ensuring that for most of the bad weather that the winter throws at us, that pitch will be in use. Looking to establish a new first team building at Colney. We're looking to revamp an academy building at Colney. So lots of things that we're looking to do over the course of the next few years. But it will always be with the priority of things that benefit football. And football means either first team or academy, or indeed those that come to watch, as in spectators. That's right, Clubbo, we did have a 7-year plan which we achieved in 2/3, didn't we? And one of the reasons that it was a long-term 7-year plan was that it was established with the banks and the finance houses in mind. We had to develop a plan that we could deliver over a reasonable period. But clearly behind the scenes we were then saying to our football guys, look, you need to get promoted from League One, you need to get promoted from the Championship. because this great club needs to be playing its football in the Premier League. So the 7-year plan was designed with the financial stability of the club in mind. Clearly, playing in the Premier League has helped fix the balance sheet, and delighted to say that we now are institutionally debt-free. That means that we don't owe banks or other finance houses any money. There is still some money outstanding to Delia, to Michael and to Michael, but they've been so supportive over the years that I'm sure that there's no real urgency over that. And long may their support continue, I should say. In terms of planning for the future, we aim to stay in this league. From a football point of view, we have to stay in the Premier League. But alongside that, we have a goal on and off the pitch to continuously improve. All of us, whether it's myself or the media team or the finance team, sales and marketing, we have some targets that are designed to stretch us and to push us to continuously improve. The same is true with football. We have a continuous improvement. So read into that what you will. You won't hear from us saying that we need to finish top X or top Y or top Z. We are just looking to continuously improve. And the fans won't need reminding that we were 12th 2 years ago, 11th last year. So we want to continue to improve from that position. Two good questions there. Wow, on form, Lance. Paul Lambert, he is an integral part now of our recent history. Did marvellously well for the football club for 3 years. We wouldn't be where we are now without him. Quite rightly in the Hall of Fame. And I think all supporters will be forever grateful for Paul's contribution. I certainly am. Paul decided to leave the club. What can I say about that? That's football. That's all it is. And he won't be the first manager that decides to leave a club. Paul and others would argue, well, it's often clubs deciding that they want their managers to leave the club. So Paul decided to leave the club. That's football. That's all it is. Second question was about...
Will we ever win a proper cup?
Will we ever win a proper cup? Ever? Yeah, we hope so. We won't be setting any short-term goals for that, but we won a proper cup last year in the FA Youth Cup, which is the highest level in academy football in the country, and only the second time in our history. And I'm not so sure that that will ever be done again, where a bunch of homegrown, domestic-based under-18s can beat the academies where players have cost £3, £4, £5 million from all around the world. So I'm not so sure that that will ever be done again. So we're enormously proud about winning that trophy. But I guess the questions about first team trophies, yeah, we'd love to be in a position to win a trophy at some point in the not too distant future. Absolutely. But I won't set a target for that one. Good question, Michael. I mean, again, a bit like Paul Lambert, Grant Holt is quite rightly in the Hall of Fame. True legend, 4 years at the football club, 78 goals was it, scored at every level, confounded the critics at every level. Hugely important in those first 3 years in particular, when we got through to the Premier League and stayed up in the first year. Grant was as important as anybody, genuinely believe that. I think he said, though, that he found it more difficult last year. I think in a recent interview he said that it was more of a struggle, and it was probably the right time for him to leave. He's got a new challenge at Wigan, closer to his family, up north, European football, and you know, we wish him well with that, but it was probably the right time. You know, he wanted to go. So we're not in the business of necessarily forcing people to stay. Slavery was abolished many, many years ago. But like I say, Grant himself in a recent interview said he found it more difficult last year. So the timing was probably right. All good things come to an end. and so we need Ricky, Gary, Luciano and Johan to score the goals that Grant and others have in recent years. Yeah, good question about the website. Our website isn't good enough. We're not happy with FLI and what they produce for us. We are clearly looking for them to improve, and we are in discussions with them about a better website for our football club. It's not good enough. It's not as good as the old one that they had with Perform. Sapient Nitro and what they provide at the moment isn't befitting that of a Premier League football club. So, yeah, not good enough. Not quite sure what else I can say. Must do better would be the end of term report for our website. It's not for want of trying, and the urgency grows. So we will ensure that we do better in future. Good question. It's first that I've been made aware of the issues. Specifically, there may have been one or two complaints about queues and positions of TVs to the proximity of queues, which we are aware of. As a result of having the question, we'll have a proper look at it. Unfortunately, I'm not in there on match day. I'd love to be actually, but I'm busy elsewhere. But having now had it raised, the ops team will look at it.
David, will there be any more, sorry, this is from a Will Carr on Facebook. David, will there be any more fan-player meetings in the season?
Yeah, loads. We are accessible, as I think everybody knows. We've got, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. People can email in, people can write in, people can pop in to see us by appointment, of course. But customer services, the ticket office is open all of the time, so we are open for business 24/7. Alongside that, though, we do have regular fans forums, and there's one in early October at a date soon to be confirmed. We also meet with the supporters groups, so the supporters groups such as the Capital Canaries, the Northern Canaries, some of the international groups, they're always invited to an annual meeting where they can put to the club any questions that their members may have, any concerns that their members may have. And so we've got one of those in October too, and there'll be other Q&As and supporter meetings as the year goes on. There'll be the AGM later this year. Many of our supporters are also shareholders too, so we are certainly more accessible than we've ever been, but I'm sure supporters demand even greater access, and we're aware of that. So if there are other things that we should be doing that we're not, then the supporters should let us know. Great question, and Sue, I have some sympathy. Our retail business has improved over the last few years, and it's now providing a real contribution. The offering for ladies and for girls isn't as good as it is for men. We need to do something about that. One of the reasons that our merchandise team would offer would be economies of scale, that we need to be able to sell a certain figure in order to justify those products being in store, and I understand that too. What I have done is I've asked for an independent audit of what we offer as a club compared to other big football clubs. So that's underway, and it will be completed independently. It won't be our team auditing themselves, so we will have some interesting results from that. I think our replica kit provider Araya have done a fantastic job, both in the quality and the service. So we are pleased with what they've done. Gifts and accessories have done reasonably well. And whilst the leisure wear sales for us have been very strong, that's the area I think in which we can do even better in future. So I have a lot of sympathy with the question. Good question, Ray. They're confidential contracts. The contracts are drawn up and as confidential as they would be for raise personal terms and conditions which wouldn't be made accessible to the public. So that's the reason. It's the same with undisclosed transfer fees. Often there'll be a contractual stipulation on one side or both to say that their figures must remain confidential, and with legally binding contracts they're simply that. You have to honour them. And so but I think when it comes to salaries, it's right that salaries are confidential anyhow. Mark, firstly, the £200,000 wasn't given to us. It's our money that we've decided to use in this way. How we can support away fans travelling to away grounds was something that we discussed with the Premier League, and the clubs did agree that they would ring-fence monies to use to help supporters in this way. But it's, to be clear, we weren't given it to spend it. It's our money, and we've decided to spend it in this way. The Hull free coaches were very successful. I think there were 25 coaches that went to Hull, and we've decided, Norwich City have taken a hit on the cost of half of the tickets for the forthcoming Stoke City game. So at every level, those tickets are now half price, and we'll be taking that cost on at Norwich City. There'll be other things that we do during the course of the season. We are particularly mindful of fixture date changes due to European competitions and television, and you know, when games move from 3 o'clock on a Saturday to any other time, that can be difficult for supporters. So if we can help, we will. Chris, obviously the football manager, it's his job to prepare teams to win football matches. Yes, of course, Norwich City, we have a great tradition of playing attacking football, and that's something that Chris is very aware of. That being said, he's paid to win football matches and to ensure that first things first, we stay in the league, and secondly, we continue to improve. And I think you're now beginning to see the shape of his squad. He's had 2 summer transfer windows. I don't know how many players that is if you take off the loan players, but it's probably 14 or 15 permanent signings. So most of the players that are now starting are Chris Hughton players. So I'm sure that we will see his tactics evolve now that he has the makings of a squad that you would say would be Chris Hughton's squad. Great question, and we've had that from a few people. We're looking again, and we're reverting back to the previous supplier. So that will happen hopefully in time for the next home game. Leanne, you're not the first person to comment about goal music. It's a really controversial subject for something that you wouldn't credit for being so. So many people have an opinion on this. They either want goal music, or they don't want goal music, or they want goal music but they don't like the goal music that we use, so they want the goal music to be changed. So this is one of those where I don't think that we can win ever. So I think it's one where we will continue to listen to the supporters and talk to them, and the polls that we've had in the very recently and in the past are not conclusive if you look at them in the round. So it's one that we'll continue to debate and has become one of the most contentious subjects, unfortunately. I mean, at the moment we've not been using goal music this season. We do want to score lots of goals. Got to stress that first and foremost, but at the moment we'll keep things as they are. But we'll continue to monitor it. We'll continue to listen to the supporters. Having scored 3 goals in the first 2 home league games, I felt the atmosphere was as good as ever in response to those goals. So we'll just leave it as it is, continue to monitor it, continue to listen to the supporters, and then really take things from there. I'm not so sure that it will go away though. The debate, that is. No, we were quite surprised at how many away fans there were in home areas. And it doesn't take many though for it to appear worse than it actually is. Clearly it's against ground regs, and even if it wasn't, we wouldn't like it anyhow, because our home areas are for Norwich City supporters. So we will do all we can to find out how those tickets were purchased, and to ensure that in future, wherever we can, that we sell tickets to Norwich City supporters only. We'd ask Norwich City supporters not to be encouraged by their friends who support the opposition to let them have their tickets. That happens on occasion, because we need to think carefully about safety, of course. And so we will do all we can. We are taking it very seriously, and our ops team are reviewing where these seats were and how the tickets were purchased, because it's not right. You need home fans in home areas for us to enjoy when we score goals, but if the opposition does score, then we can all look after each other. It's not nice if you've got somebody sat next to you jumping up and down. It can be more than a tad annoying, so we'll do what we can. Wow, good question. Don't know, Daniel. We've had plenty, haven't we, in the four years or so that I've been here. I think the financial restructuring, sounds really boring, but the financial restructuring in November 2010 was one of the key milestones in our history. So getting that away as a business was huge for the football club. But then you think of the Portsmouth game, promotion to the Premier League, Simeon's third goal against Derby County, huge moments. But I also remember really feeling that our momentum was beginning to build in League One when we drew away at Gillingham. We wrongly had a player sent off, Fraser I think it was. We went a goal down. In fact, did Simeon score? Simeon was on the other team at the time, wasn't he? And we scored, I think, in the last minute of injury time. It may have been a Darryl Russell header at the corner. That was a huge moment, and I think that was the start of building our momentum in League One. Because let's not forget, in League One that season, with Paul coming in, he did wonders. But at first, it was a little bit awkward. We drew against Walsall at home. We lost at MK Dons. We lost at Leeds. So we didn't have everything our own way to start with. But it was at that point when we played such good football that day, predominantly with 10 men, that I felt that things were beginning to build. So, look, those are a few of my favourite moments, but we're lucky we've had so many. Well, like I said, we are entirely transparent in terms of the way we operate here, which is we are looking for continuous improvement, all of us, off the pitch and on the pitch. On the pitch, it means absolutely fundamental. First big tick, stay in the league, but continue to improve. And so in every aspect of football, we'll be looking for Chris to ensure that our football performances and our football operation improves. But that's no different to myself, the media team, finance, sales and marketing, catering. We're all charged with continuous improvement, because I'm convinced that if we're not always at 100 miles an hour, we'll be crushed in the rush. So we need to be pushing and pushing and pushing, and that's the same whether it's an administrator or a technical football manager whose job it is to win football matches. Thank you to everybody that sent in a question. It's great to have so many questions, and we've tackled every subject which is important, not avoided any, and that will continue. This is the supporters club. And what they want and what they need is so important to us at Norwich City. So we will have more Q&As. We will have more Q&As on video such as this one. But if there are other ways in which we should communicate with the supporters, then please let us know. In the new world of media, we've got so many opportunities now to talk to one another, and we're prepared to be open 24/7. So let us have your ideas, please. So thank you again.